Armada Kickoff is brought to you by Dreamfinders Homes, Community First Credit Union, Winn-Dixie, Baptist Health, and Bowden Eye and Associates.
Hello and welcome into Armada Kickoff. It was a week of change for the Armada, who parted ways with head coach Tony Meola and now look forward to the final 14 matches of the season under the direction of Mark Lowry. And then, well, we'll see. We'll hear from Armada owner Mark Frisch on the future and what he expects coming up. Plus, we'll also hear from some of the veteran players on their thoughts on the move. But let's start with the big move made this past weekend. When Tony Meola was hired, there were high expectations that the three-time World Cup goalkeeper could bring his winning attitude to Jacksonville and produce results on the field. But for a myriad of reasons, the results just never came.
The third head coach hired by the Armada lasted 20 competitive matches, 18 NASL fixtures, and a pair of U.S. Open Cup matches. Tony Meola came in with excellent credentials as a player, but couldn't get the kind of results as a first-time head coach that he did as a goalkeeper. Now the mantle is handed to Mark Lowry. The soon-to-be 31-year-old had been the number 2 assistant under Meola. He joined the club last September as an assistant under then interim head coach Eric Day. The native of Birmingham, England, previously worked in Orlando City's development program and coached that club's U23s. He began his career as a coach and scout in England with Wolverhampton Wanderers and then Birmingham City FC. Armada U23 coach Pat Cannon and U23 goalkeeper coach Daryl Sattler will join Lowry as assistants for the time being. For his part, Lowry says he wants to build on what the Armada have done well and keep things simple.
Look, there's not a lot that needs to change. I mean, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to keep things simple for the players in terms of their assignments and the tactics and the strategy on the field. Like I said, there's been a good foundation built already. We just need to find a way to build on that and to move forward as a group, collectively, for the club, for the community, and for everyone involved.
Leading up to all this was the match on Saturday against Carolina. Beautiful night for soccer at Community First Park. Matt Fondy making his return to Jacksonville and making his presence known early. 6th minute. Omar Bravo to Drew Becky, to Fondy, one little touch, and then he puts it past Sean Lewis, Fondy's 3rd goal as a member of the Carolina Railhawks. But the Armada would respond in the 19th minute. Lucas Caglia gets to the byline and gets it right on the toe of Charles Ilandu, who scores his first goal as a member of the Armada. Ilandu would not be done. Second half, 50th minute off the goal kick. Little flick-on header by Alex Anderson. Ilandu in the box. One move, got it to his left foot, and it's a brace for Charles Ilandu. He scored 4 goals in the preseason, had not scored all season long, had a bunch of chances. Need to work on the dismount there. But Charles Ilandu with a brace for the Armada, first 2-goal performance by any Armada player this year. Carolina, though, would level things in the 68th minute. Omar Bravo, the header. The goal for Bravo equalizes in the 68th, but things weren't done just yet. 70th minute. Austin Deleuze with an aggressive tackle on Kevon George. He had picked up a yellow card earlier. He gets another yellow, so he's sent off with a red card. Final 20 minutes, the Armada would play with a man advantage. They did have some chances, but they just couldn't get the final touch. Here's a great opportunity here. Carl Ouimet centering one, and on a deflected ball, Charles Ilandu just couldn't quite get the foot up. The Armada settled for a 2-2 draw with the Railhawks.
Just keep working hard. We know what we can do. We can play every team out this league, but it's just been not bouncing the balls for us in front of the goals. So today, these two goals was a good effort from Charles and the whole team to show that. Yeah, we got the talent still.
We're unfortunate to not get it, but I mean, it's a step in the right direction, and we're building, we're trying new formations, and we're starting to gel, and we're just working to, get that first win. It's kind of becoming a burden on us, but, it's going to come soon.
We just have to keep grinding, man. It's been a really tough season. There have been some games where we should have closed it out, but we just gave up, made silly mistakes. But like you said, consistency is key, but it's tough to find that consistency when we're changing so many pieces, game in, game out, But, hey, that's the nature of the game.
All right, look at the numbers from Saturday's match between the Armada and the Railhawks. This looks like a game that was pretty close, and it was very entertaining, in fact. You had a lead change, the Armada with a chance late in the contest. They had the best of most of the key stats here, including passing in the opponent's half, as you would expect from a team that was playing against a side that was a man down. But the Armada just couldn't find that final touch at the key time, and they settled for a 1-all draw. This week in Coach's Corner, we take a little different approach. Instead of the coach, let's hear from the guy who made the move with the coach, Armada owner Mark Frisch. I asked Frisch what his expectations were for the rest of the season with Mark Lowry at the helm. Here's Coach's Corner presented by Asana Wellness Center, the official training facility of the Jacksonville Armada.
I keep asking myself those questions. You know, what are real expectations going forward? And I believe, I'm convinced we have a roster that can compete game in and game out. And Mark is really excited about this opportunity. I think the players are excited to get out there and work for him. So yeah, I mean, we're 11 points back from first in the fall. And I don't know much about the history of who's made a run in soccer with how many matches left and made up so much ground. But it can be done. And I know this group of guys can do it. And I am going to do all I can to motivate them to do it. And I know Mark is too. He's going to get a lot out of them. So for me, it's let's just get back in the conversation. Let's see a headline that reads, Armada wins third in a row. You know, and you know this league. I mean, things week to week, teams are up, teams are down. There's a lot of shuffling up and down on the table. So, you know, if nothing else, I want to create some great momentum going into 2017. And I know this team is capable of doing it. And I know Mark is capable of getting it out of them. And I'm looking forward to watching it happen.
Is Mark Lowry, is he going to be in the conversation? Is this sort of like you talked about with Eric Dade last year, that this is his audition period to see what he can do?
Yeah, no, and you know, with Nathan now as technical director, it's certainly Nathan's going to be really tasked with this, you know, and certainly he and I will talk. But it is his audition period. I mean, he's got a 14-game season here. It's longer than our spring season. I want him to make it a tough conversation, you know, because everyone kind of expects you to go get the guy who last coached in this team who did well now and what have you. But you know, if Mark comes out here and nails it, and we make something happen, you can't overlook that. And that's what I said last year. And yeah, same thing for me this year. But ultimately the difference is, you know, Nathan is really going to be working hard on that and that decision. And you know, we'll talk about it, but it's Nathan's decision to make.
Players that you can switch around, and we're going to be very strong.
We saw a lot of different players, a lot of different lineups.
All right, welcome in here, the Analyst Roundtable. Pleased to have David Hayes and Eric Dade joining us for the first time. A guy who is certainly aware of what Mark Lowry is going through right now. You were the interim coach last year. Let's first start with the move itself. What did you think of the move with the coaches?
Well, unfortunately, you know, there has to be changes sometime, and you know, you feel for the coach going out. You're excited for the coach coming in. I think Mark's a good choice. He's a good guy in the locker room with the players. People respect him. I have a lot of respect for Mark. You know, we've spent some time together as well in my little short interim time with the team. He's a very good soccer person. I think if he can get the guys believing in him, I think good things can happen for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the coaching change needed to happen. I mean, they went 2-6-10. I mean, you know, at that point, you have to, you know, just part ways and move on. And I think that's what was needed.
Do you think Mark Lowry can do enough in 14 games to earn the job permanently?
That's tough. I mean, he has to deal with the dynamics of the team that's already been set. So it's going to be tough for him to go in there. But, you know, like Eric said, if anyone can do it, I think he can do it. So I think it's a good call.
He's had some awareness of this team. You mentioned he was brought in as one of your assistants last year when you were the interim coach at the end of the year. So he's been here. He knows the guys. The guys know him. He doesn't have to win them over if he's got them already, won over. That's got to be a big step in his positive direction.
Well, it's a fresh start for everybody, right? He's got 14 games, and I don't think there's much pressure on Mark, right? He can go out. He's got to find a way in these next couple games to get some decent results. Try to find results if he can. If he can, once after the little break they get, he can start to get into and put his scheme into the team, and I think he can go from there. But again, I don't think there's much pressure on Mark. He's got to get that locker room happy. He's got to get guys believing. He's got to get some energy in the locker room. I think if he can do that, then he'll find some success.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Stay right there. More coming up here in just a bit.
Of course, a big part of Lowry's success is going to be about how he utilizes and motivates the players. To hear it from some of the veteran players, they think Lowry will be a big success.
was difficult, but we're all professionals. A lot of guys have been through this before, whether it's here or somewhere else, and we all understand that if you don't win games, you know, people can lose their jobs, us included, and so we're ready to get started, kind of a fresh start, and try and clean things up.
And one significant difference from last year's interim coaching situation is that Mark Lowry has been with the team the entire year. So he's familiar with the players, and the players are familiar with him.
We're very confident in the man that he is and what he's shown previously. He's very meticulous in what he does, very passionate about the game. So I think it'll be a fairly smooth transition.
You'll see some more energy. I think maybe some people that may have felt that they were kind of forgotten will be a little bit re-energized. It's an audition for all 29 guys, I think there are now. Kind of a fresh start, so I think everybody will be eager to prove themselves again.
So what are the expectations on Saturday and going forward? From the players' perspective, there's optimism, there's hope, and they expect to be fairly energized starting on Saturday in Ottawa.
He's a very respected guy. We all like the way he does things, so even the last guy on the roster thinks he has a chance now, and that's just going to make us better as a team.
I go back to the word energy. I think guys will be flying around. It's a fresh start more than anything. So I think you'll see it on Saturday. Guys that maybe have looked a little worn down will probably be flying around and excited to start over a bit.
And they can start over starting this weekend against the Ottawa Fury on Saturday. Then back home on Wednesday. That's a Wet Your Whistle Wednesday. $1 beers as the Fort Lauderdale Strikers come to town. And then quick turnaround to take on the Minnesota United matchup. That's a 2:30 start for that one with the Jaguars playing in the evening. That's a football night in Jacksonville on Saturday, August the 20th. Tickets are available by calling 844-2-ARMADA or by going online to armadafc.com. Coming up, records are broken in the NASL and a couple of world-class players finding the net. Plus, Eric Day joins us for the Armada Boot Room. Stick around. More Armada Kickoff is straight ahead.
To enter for your chance to participate in the Winn-Dixie Bubble Battle, visit your nearest Winn-Dixie in your Armada gear, take a selfie, and post it to any of the Armada social media using the hashtag WinnDixieBB. 2 winners will be selected every Wednesday during a home match week. Assemble a team of 3, and you're ready for battle.
The top of the table is getting very tight with 6 teams within 5 points of the top spot. Let's go around the NASL, presented by Nike.
We start in Minnesota, where the United are nearly unbeatable at home, but not this past weekend. Miami FC, 4 goals, including one from Quadro Poku, his 3rd goal of the fall season. Miami FC, an impressive 4-0 victory at Minnesota. Indy 11, also tough to beat at home. They got it taken care of against Ottawa Fury. Indy getting the goal in stoppage time. Dylan Mayers to Don Smart ends the 3-game winning streak for the Fury, 1-0, Indy 11 with a victory. In Puerto Rico, FC Edmonton got their 3rd straight win. Tomi Amiobi puts the only goal into the net, a 1-0 FC Edmonton win. Tampa Bay Rowdies, Fort Lauderdale Strikers in a Coastal Cup matchup. Joe Cole with an assist. Joe Cole with a goal, 4th of his NASL career. 2-1, Rowdies beat the Strikers. And Giorgio Samaras gets his goal for Rayo OKC, ending the Cosmos NASL record 10-game home winning streak, a 1-1 draw between New York and Rayo OKC.
So here are the standings in the fall season. The Armada on 5 points here. Need to start climbing up, as you heard Mark Frisch mention. Right now, 11 points from the top, and they're going to have to make a run, no doubt about it, but there is some time. And if Mark Lowry can inject some enthusiasm and results into things, who knows what can happen. Indy 11 already clinching a spot in the postseason. So in actuality, because Indy is at the top there, it actually does the Armada good for Indy to do very well for the rest of the way after winning the spring season championship. Combined standings look like this. The next best 2 after the spring season champions Indy, and whoever winds up being the fall season champions will go to the postseason as well. And right now, that number is 27 points with Minnesota United. It will be the top 4. So again, you can see the Armada certainly have some work to do in that regard, but there is some time to get that done. Now let's head to the Armada Boot Room, presented by MTech. All right, here in the Armada Boot Room, presented by MTech, perfect time to have Eric Dade involved here because you're the only guy who knows what Mark Lowry is going through, truly. Last 7 games last year, you were the interim coach of the Armada. He's going to have to rely on the veterans, and you wanted to take a closer look at a couple of veteran midfielders.
A couple for sure. Veterans are going to be key for him. One here is Lucas Scaglia. Obviously, a very good timing for Lucas Scaglia. Ball's played in from the center back there. Key thing is he turns, faces the back line, gets a ball out wide to Burke. Now look at his movement afterwards. He's running into the space that Alandu cleared out. He got himself in behind. Nice little ball by Berkey. Next thing you know, a good cross by Scaglia. Charles is right there where forward's supposed to be.
All right, so there's one, Lucas Scaglia. You also wanted to take a look at Pekka Lagerblom and what Pekka did over the weekend.
Well, it's good to see Pekka out there, right? Just initially, right away. A good veteran. He's there. He plays a nice little ball in behind the defender. He runs off the ball, which is key. He's looking. He's going forward again. He plays another ball in. He's finding himself running in behind the back line again. Nice little drop. All right, should have done better on the service, but.
Certainly, though, you're starting to see the little pieces start to come together as far as Pekka Lagerblom was getting into form. The Armada have a roster that can win. They've got guys, right, if they all work together in the right way.
Very good roster. There's a lot of good players. There's a lot of good players here. I think it's just finding their role within the team, finding a little bit of belief in them, and obviously, hopefully, Ilari with some energy will bring that to him.
All right, we'll keep a close eye on it. Eric, thanks so much. Of course, the Armada gets set to take on Ottawa this weekend. Straight ahead, more from David Hayes and from Eric. We're going to talk about their picks in the Premier League. Stick around. More Armada Kickoff straight ahead.
Remember, for every Wednesday home match remaining on the Armada schedule, it's Wet Your Whistle Wednesday. Dollar beers at Community First Park. 3 more opportunities. Wednesday, August 17th against the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. Wednesday, September 28th against FC Edmonton. And Wednesday, October 19th against Miami FC. Wet Your Whistle Wednesday with the Armada.
Players that you can switch around, and we're going to be very strong.
We saw a lot of different players, a lot of different lineups.
All right, back in here on the Analyst Roundtable presented by Subway. Eric Dade, David Hayes. I want to talk Olympics here a little bit. Start with the U.S. women, David. They won the group, had a little uneven performance against Colombia. Tomorrow they start their knockout stage against Sweden. Is anything less than gold acceptable for the U.S. at this point?
I mean, you know, you got to look across the board. I mean, they got to get past Sweden first. I mean, USA is USA, and they've dominated this area for so many years. But then they might have to play China, France, Brazil. I mean, there's a lot of great teams left. So I wouldn't say that, but I think they should come away with gold.
Eric?
Nothing less than gold. You know, you're former champions, and you know you have the players. You're the team to beat. I think USA will be better as the competition gets better, and as the final stages go on.
You know, it's interesting. No World Cup winning team on the women's side has ever followed that up with an Olympic gold. You would think that somewhere along the line somebody would have done. Nobody has. U.S. trying to make that happen. Premier League starts tomorrow, or this weekend rather. All the action beginning Saturday. Who's your pick to win the Premier League this year?
I'm a Man City fan, so I'm going to go with Man City.
It's been a popular pick. Obviously, the Manchester Derby becomes a huge thing. It's always big there, but now with Mourinho coming in, David, what do you think of the way things shake out?
I think Man City as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Man City fan as well. So Manchester United, you can never count out Jose, but I think, you know, Man City.
How about Leicester? Do they have any chance to repeat what they did last year?
No.
No? Just no?
No. I don't think so.
I'd agree 100%.
Top 6?
Top 6,
yeah,
for sure.
top 6.
Okay, that would be a pretty good success, one would think, for Leicester.
For sure.
All right, let's talk back on the Armada. Who's the one player who's going to flourish under Mark Lowry?
I think it's going to be probably, I think guys like JJ. I think Danny. I think you'll see a different Englishman. I think you'll see a different Mishak as well.
Really?
Lowry's a big believer in those guys, and I think those guys need belief in order to go out and be their best. And I think Lowry will be good for those.
I mean, he took it right out of my mouth. I mean, Barrow and JJ, I love Jamal Johnson. I don't understand why he hasn't been playing because he's one of my favorite players, I think. He's done a consistent job last year for us, and he hasn't been given the right shot this year, so hopefully he will.
And maybe the English thing is only a coincidence, right, with those guys. David Hayes, Eric Day, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, a look ahead to Saturday's trip to Canada. Stick around. More Armada Kickoff is straight ahead.
Saturday in Canada, the Armada take on the Ottawa Fury for the third time this year and the second time in 21 days. This year, the Armada went to Ottawa in May and fell 1-0 on a late goal by Marcel de Jong. 3 weeks ago, Ottawa came to Community First Park and beat the Armada 2-0. Jacksonville has never beaten Ottawa, going 0-1-4 all time. Ottawa is 7th in the fall season, 9 points from 7 matches, and 1 spot ahead of the Armada in 10th in the combined table.
All right, next home match for the Armada, Wednesday, August 17th at Community First Park. It is a 7 o'clock kickoff as Jacksonville takes on Coastal Cup rivals, the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. Match is presented by Socially Bold, and it is the first Wet Your Whistle Wednesday dollar beers. What better reason you need to come out than to see some great soccer against a rival with dollar beers? Tickets, call 844-2-ARMADA or go online to armadafc.com. Remember, you get the latest on the Armada online at armadafc.com anytime. And on Sports Radio 930, we have the Armada Coaches Show Mondays at 6 and the Armada Soccer Show Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. Our coverage of the Armada and Ottawa Fury begin on Saturday, pregame 4:30, kickoff at 5. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Armada Kickoff.
Armada Kickoff is brought to you by Dream Finders Homes, the mark of a quality home.